Hey, what's up guys? So normally you're expecting me alone for Ask Our Meet Some BS. Clearly there's two people here, so it's going to be a discussion. Now, you guys all know who I am if you're watching this, so I'll let him give you his shill.
I am Fuzzman of Blurcast. We are another nerd crew, and we talk about a whole variety of nerd subjects. We work on building a well-rounded pan-fandom nerd. We are currently on SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, all those things. You can find us Blurcast, fuzzmansblurcast.com, and you can hit me up at Fuzzman on Twitter.
So there you go. You will find all that in the description, and some of it's going to pop up around here during different parts of the video, just so you guys can click it, annotate it, whatever. I'll link to their YouTube here, right on your chest. It'll pop up. So right there, if you guys go there, you can keep up with them. So now we're going to get into the discussion at hand, which if you guys saw the title, you know what it is. So a lot of backlash for Kylo Ren, and that's what we wanted to tackle.
And it's interesting because I've never seen this much fan anguish over over an anguished character in the Star Wars universe. There's been all of this, oh, he's so emo and upset about everything, and it's like, well, obviously, that's the path to the dark side.
Right, well, I find this weird, disconnected, disjointed mentality of certain fans. First, obviously, we have Darth Vader, who was, really, when you look at him, he was a simple villain. Mm-hmm. He was just, I'm Batman, I'm going to choke you, I'll slice you with my saber, and you're done, right? But he got more elements to him in the prequels. Granted, some of those elements were bad, right? So, people went into this movie, and I saw the same thing that happens with Marvel movies, and you probably noticed this too. Fans are going, I want a badass villain who just kills everything, but then you get that in the form of like Thor 2's Malekith, and a few other villains, and people go, but I want a villain that's layered and emotional. I'm like, so which one do you want? Because I felt they got both sides right, because Kylo Ren plays off as tough. Oh, absolutely. But there's that scene when the stormtroopers are walking and he's freaking out, where that's a common thing. He does that, which to me sells him as he's clearly unstable and emotionally wrecked, right? So,
and I feel like that's part of what underplays him compared to Darth Vader. Darth Vader is like one of the ultimate villains of all time.
Right.
And so when he force chokes somebody to death, that's like a clear sign of his evilness. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Kylo Ren doesn't kill any of his own underlings, that like lessens his evil stats.
Right.
Because he's only freaking out on equipment. Mm-hmm. He's not actually killing his own people.
Exactly. He's not taking out his, anger on him. But then there's also the line in the movie that I really liked, I think, personifies who he is at this stage of his, like, life, I guess. Obviously, we know Snoke tricked him, and he's, like, working for him, he's under him. But there's a clear line that his training wasn't finished. So he's still unstable, and when he says, he has to do something to become fully embraced in the dark, what we know is he has to kill his father.
Right.
Which, that's him convincing himself. So when he's having a heart-to-heart with Han,
I know what I have to do.
He's convincing himself.
I need your help to do it.
He has to, and he feels bad about it, but he's trying so hard to be like his grandfather, which, to me, that's another layer upon the character, which a lot of people reflected on going, why is he such a bitch in that scene? I'm like, no, that scene is what makes him so amazing, because you see the conflict within him, which is something that, unfortunately, I do like the prequels, but I think they failed at capturing that. Exactly. I think they failed at capturing that with Anakin. He kind of just whines too much and it's like too monotone of an actor to get that role and emotion.
It definitely echoes the complaints that we heard about Anakin from the prequel movies, where he was just, oh, he's an emo whine. Well, yeah.
Right.
That's the phase of his life that he's going through. And Kylo Ren is still obviously adolescent, still trying to figure out what's going on in his head, and he's a loose cannon, and he hasn't he hasn't quite built up enough anger to completely lash out, and that was really well done in the scene with Han and the lighting, where as the light disappears, that's when you can see he's okay, I'm accepting the dark side now. Because
that was also like the symbolism of the scene. There's a still light in him, and as he's talking to Han, it's fading, and when he accepts it, it's faded, and then he does the stabbing. So, to me, that was like, as much of a symbolic moment as it was also a passing of like, into that whole next chapter of his life where now he is going to feel more like Vader, and he probably will be choking his own, like people working for him. But there's also the great scene in which Han...
Force choke for you!
Right.
Force choke for
just,
you!
Oh, dropping him left and right. But that great scene where Han, as he's falling, he grabs onto his face because he realizes there was still hope in his son, and he doesn't die thinking his son is a scumbag. He dies knowing that there's still a hope for redemption, just like there was for Anakin.
Yeah.
So I think that scene also adds another layer, because we could go into the second movie, and he could still be, lingering on there, being like, I know what I did was wrong, but there's still hope in him. So, to me, they're already...
New hope, you might say?
Oh! It's clearly a reskin, which will be another topic for another video here. So, I mean, there's a lot of, hopes that this character can go through, and obviously we don't know which way they're going to take it. So, what do you think of the overall complaints that people just throw at him, but then what they say they want is the exact opposite than what they...
Well, I mean, this is the line you walk with fandom. Everybody's gonna say they want one thing, and people don't really know what they want. And that's why I think, to briefly talk about Fox's Marvel movies that they've wrecked, it's because they've tried to give people what they want, and you have to create a piece of art and then trust that it's going to stand up on its own merits. And that's what I think J.J. Abrams did, was he made executive decisions about what he wanted from the portrayal, and he's just going to let that stand. And then after people have seen it 5 times and own the DVD and watch it every year, they're going to come to a better understanding of why those decisions were made and how Kylo Ren is thinking in those scenes.
Okay, so that's something I also agree with. Obviously, I've seen the movie 3 times now in theaters.
I've seen it twice.
And it's every time I see it, I discover other scenes that I like. Like, there's clearly the scene of at the end, the end battle, where he sees Luke and Anakin's lightsaber, and he's trying to grab it, and it starts moving, and we figure out it's Rey.
Yeah.
And there's this look on his face that, I mean, for in that battle, people are calling, oh, he's a pussy, nothing. One, he got shot with the bowcaster, and he keeps pounding himself to get adrenaline rushing.
Right.
And 2, it's called The Force Awakens because it's not about the Force Awakening as a whole. It's about awakening in her because there's something special about her.
Right.
So when he gets completely destroyed by her, I saw that as another sign of this doesn't work for him because, once again, he's unstable and doesn't know what he's going to do, which his training isn't complete again, which, once again, adds more layers to their character going into the future. I want to know more about him because at the end of A New Hope, when I watched that for the first time as a kid, when I saw Darth Vader kind of fly off, I wasn't like, I want to know more about Vader. I was like, oh, if he comes back, he's just going to be the same guy choking people.
Right.
I was like, I want to know more about Luke, which I think they've actually converted that now into, I want to know more about Rey and Kylo, which is a great balance to hit between these two characters because I don't just care for one anymore, So I think they're running a good balance of giving me what I want, but also pushing a villain as like a
dark side.
Right, to a balance.
And that's what the whole thing is about, balance of the Force, and you're seeing both sides. And I think it was really great that they exhibited so much of Kylo Ren's power, especially early on with like him freezing the blaster bolt.
Yeah.
Because then when Rey does beat him at the end, you're like, okay, so she's up on that level too. She is way up there with the Force power. And once both of them kind of hone that more, and once we see more of this trilogy going forward, it's going to be really interesting to track which direction they go.
The evolution and how the characters go. Now, there's one thing I want to ask you. Now, there's been a whole argument that Rey in the movie is not a strong character and kind of written bad because she's a Mary Sue. She gets... But here's my thing. We had episode 1. Anakin is what, 10?
Yeah.
Do people forget he gets into a ship, flies up, and destroys the whole command module all by himself because the Force is guiding him? I'm like, she did nothing different than he did. And once again, Kylo Ren was injured when she was completely destroying him, and she let the Force in. She had to accept what it was. Maz Kanata even said it. You have to let the Force in. So it's like once you accept it, all the knowledge came to you, which, once again, they exhibit this same thing with Luke and Anakin time and time again. So, I mean, episode 2, which is my least favorite of the Star Wars movies, there's the scene where, Anakin's just going with Obi-Wan, and he just jumps over the side, and, he anticipates it because, and all the other Jedi would be like, "What? That's not how it works." But he's so strong with it, it just kind of guides him, you know. So, thus giving more push to that character. What do you feel about the argument that she's too good at stuff?
I definitely think it was an opening of the character, specifically after the interrogation scene. Once she's kind of wandering around the Star Killer base, she starts getting into like secret access panels, and that's where I was like, okay, so she's kind of keying into things that she's not really looking for, but she's sensing. Right. And that's, I think, how she did the whole Millennium Falcon scene. She's not looking for things, she's sensing them. Yeah. Well, and it's anticipating before you see something. Exactly,
which once again brings us to Anakin again in episode 1, where he just pod races for his, second time? He's just like, oh, look at me win. I'm like, that's the same. They're making the same correlation with all the Skywalkers. Yeah. We don't know if she's a Skywalker, but we obviously know Kylo Ren is in that bloodline, which would once again push the whole, Kylo Ren versus her, good evil. So overall, there's a lot of complaints to be made about the movie, but I'm wondering if people have seen the movie and the character of Kylo Ren, how he's going to evolve, or if they're just taking it at face value and they just don't like what they're seeing for other reasons. Like, I'm trying to understand what they're watching.
And again, they were saying everything old is new again, and this is like a reboot / continuation, like both at the same time, so that you can kind of start here. But I feel like that's not really the best place to start. You really want to start at the beginning, episode 1, and go through the series, or episode 4 and go through chronologically, whichever you prefer. But you have to think of this as a 7th installment, and not the first. Yeah, which there are a lot of people that did. I mean, there's a lot of people complaining that they didn't understand it and they didn't watch the other movies, which that makes sense too. So I guess what we're coming down to is kind of agreeing that the character still has 2 movies to grow. Yeah. He has comics and books that he's going to be featured in to evolve his character, and kind of flesh him out. So I guess people should just give it a chance and kind of take it at face value to what he is. I mean, watch all the movies, and you're going to see that Kylo Ren is exactly just like Rey. It's a mirroring of what's happened before, so them being good or bad with the Force is all been represented before, Absolutely. It's kind of like George Lucas says, it's kind of like, it kind of rhymes with itself. He said that in their episode. It kind of does, because we'll talk about that in another video, but the movie rhymes with A New Hope, which makes sense when you look at it. So, I mean, I liked it. I think Kylo Ren's a great villain. I even said in my review, I think he's the best Star Wars villain so far. I think he's better than Vader just because he has personality. Yeah, absolutely. He's not just Once Vader puts the mask on, that's it. And then in this one, you actually see Kylo Ren take it off. Exactly. And that lends to his torn between light and dark.
Right, and also the scene where he's talking to the helmet of his grandfather. But the sickening part to me was when he takes off his helmet, he puts it down in Anakin's ashes. Right. And I'm like, okay, so he's literally breathing those in when he puts the helmet on. So I'm like, this guy is clearly unstable, and he's trying to be so hard and edgy that he's literally gone off the wall, and that makes me
I'm going to inhale particles of my dead grandfather.
It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, why? What is wrong with you? And I'm just like, I like him even more because of that, because he's clearly a psychopath. So, yeah, I can't wait to see more.
I think the deciding factor is going to be next year's Rogue One, and this is going to be interesting because it'll be the first movie we see without a major Force user in it. If anybody can use the Force at all, it'll be in a very small way. I honestly think it's going to come down to lightsabers. If there's no lightsabers, it's going to suck. That's my opinion. That's really like the item that sets apart Star Wars from other space movies.
And see, lightsabers. I'm on the anticipation of the ending of Rogue One is going to be they get the plans into R2, he blasts away, and you're going to see sabers because Vader is going to stroll in there and murder them all. And that's like the end scene because we know they all die trying to get the plans. So it's like, we know what the ending is. So how did they get it? So I figured the entire movie they're going to build up Vader and he'll just stroll in there and murder them. We're like, well, shit. It's like, oh, well, that's how that ends. So I'm excited. Future of Star Wars looks bright. It looks amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And we will see you next time.
Check out all their stuff in the description below. Click it. Each one you click, you get pizza rolls. So thank you for watching the video, and if you guys like what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you haven't already, check out some of these other great videos we have on the channel. Just click the annotation right there, it'll take you to them. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a good one.